Welcome to Pittman and Friends, the curiously probing, sometimes awkward, but always revealing conversations between your host, Anne Arundel County Executive Stuart Pittman, that's me, and whatever brave and willing public servant, community leader, or elected official I can find who has something to say that you should hear. This podcast is provided as a public service of Anne Arundel County, so don't expect me to get all partisan here. This is about the age-old art of government, of, by, and for the people. All right, welcome. I am really pleased to be here today with the District 4 Anne Arundel County Councilwoman and Chair of the Anne Arundel County Council, Julie Hummer. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. So what I like to do in these is talk about the person's background first. So you ran for the county council just 2 years ago, got elected, and tell us what you were doing before and what led you to that.
So, way back, so I'm originally from South Carolina, came up to Virginia and then to Maryland.
All right, so that's not a Southern Maryland twang, that's a South Carolina twang. All right.
Definitely, that's South Carolina twang, and I went to school in Virginia, and I was a special education teacher, and then I started having a lot of kids. I have 5 children, and I got very involved in the local PTA, advocating for our local schools, and that led to I was appointed to the Anne Arundel County Board of Education. So I served on the Board of Education for 5.5 years, and that's kind of a natural progression into the County Council because we can do a lot on the Board of Education, but we don't control the funding. And so I was pleased to get on the County Council where I can have more to say and input into the actual funding for education and all other areas that affect children and families.
Sometimes I feel like the Board of Education is glad that they don't control the funding. They just ask for money and they don't have to come up with it, right?
It's but I will share that it is quite frustrating when they ask for the money and don't receive it all, because everything that the Board of Education asks is always good, but
yes,
you can't always get all the money that you want. So it's interesting to have been on both sides, and I actually think having served on the Board of Education is very beneficial to then being on the County Council side and really understanding the budgets of both branches, both parts of government.
And I remember when I first came into office, or maybe it was when I was still a candidate and I was trying to educate myself, but I remember calling you because you were the chair of the board Board of Education at the time, and I remember hanging up from that call thinking, this woman really knows her stuff.
It's the Board of Education was a wonderful experience. It combined my background in education and my life as a parent, and so It was a great way to serve, and I loved being on the board.
Yeah, and I also remember during COVID when I guess you were not a candidate yet. Maybe you had finished up as school board. I can't remember the timing, but you were with your 5 children out. It seemed constantly with food distribution, diapers, all kinds of things to help with that really huge crisis that was going on in your community.
We did. My family started running a food pantry out of our garage, and we did that for about 3 months during COVID, and provided weekly bags of food to 100 plus families a week.
So I want to get into your district and what it's like and what some of the issues are. But let's first talk about just the county council as an institution and the administration as the other branch of government, the checks and balances between them. And now that you're the chair of the county council, I'm sure you're starting to think big picture about how all that works. So what are the responsibilities of the county council?
The county council is the legislative branch of government, just like the Senate and the House of Representatives on the national level. The county council, we write the laws. We're the ones who pass the laws and that come through. And so we work just like on the national level. Government works best when the different branches work together, and then there's some give and take there, but they are independent branches. So you may have gotten this too, but I have gotten emails from her saying, why don't you tell Stuart to do this? And It's like, well, because that's not my job, and Stuart's not my boss either. So we're independent branches. We're not telling each other what to do, but we hopefully are working together to get the best outcome for the county.
Yeah, and a lot of the work that you do, constituent service work, is really getting people to the right department that is under me, and hopefully that department is responding. But then there are times where you and I have to communicate, or you and some of our constituent services, or your constituent services folks and ours. So it's really important when we're dealing with the shared constituents.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of because you will find out things from constituents that my office won't necessarily know, and vice versa. So that when we're communicating with the departments, we are making sure that all of our residents are getting the best service they can.
So you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel pretty good about the last 6 years. I know you were only there for the last 2 of those 6. The relationship between the administration and the 7 people on the county councils, so 1 from each district, especially when I look around the state and I hear stories from other counties, or I look at legislative bodies at the state level even. Under the last administration with Governor Hogan and the legislature, there was very little communication, and the 2 sides would blame each other for things, but they didn't always talk to each other and collaborate. And I think, had I not had good staff when I came in who had worked in other counties and had done this before, I think I would have blown it. I think I wouldn't have got how important it is to treat each of the 7 people on the council like an equal partner. And when I look back on the last administration of this county, there's 7. It was 4-3, 4 Republican, 3 Democrat at that point. Now it's flipped, so it's 4 Democrats, 3 Republicans. That administration had a lot of trouble getting 4 votes on anything because of the dynamics. And I mean, I don't know who's to blame. Probably everybody in that case. But we managed, I think, to at least get 4 votes. Sometimes we got 7 votes. Sometimes we got 6 votes on the really important stuff, and including the budget. And but it's hard work.
It is, but like I said, I think the best service, the best government that you have is when everybody's working together. That we truly look at it as that. Why are we here? We're here for public service, which is to take care of our residents. And so if the different sides aren't talking to each other, there's no way that you're going to come up with the best outcomes for everything. Right. But I do think we've had a good relationship with the administration and with all the different departments and within the council itself. I mean, close to 90% of our votes are unanimous. Yeah. Because most of them some are pro forma things that we have to do, but we really try to do legislation that's beneficial for everybody. And beyond that unanimous, the vast majority are bipartisan to some extent. And so we really try to work because good legislation is good no matter what party you're in.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's I've watched every single council member struggle with every single issue, both first trying to understand it and all the impacts of it. I have to do the same, but it is really hard work, and it's a part-time job. So at least it's paid as a part-time job.
It is paid probably less than a part-time job. Yeah. And yes, we're considered part-time people, but it really is a full-time job. Yeah. It's a continuous process. People are reaching out to you Christmas Eve, it doesn't matter. They're going to be there, and we're present for them. We want to be there and respond. Yeah.
So let's talk about District 4. You've got the westernmost western part of the county with Laurel and Russet, where you live, right? Right. And Maryland City, and you've got some big institutions. You've got Fort Meade. You've got the Smithsonian Environmental. The Smithsonian, I'm sorry. The Patuxent Wildlife Refuge. Right. I'm getting them mixed up. There are 2 huge ones in the county that we often sort of forget because they're really preserved land. And you've got Odenton and 2 Rivers and Piney Orchard, and it's a lot of folks live there, no?
It is. So with the last census, District 4 grew more than any other district in the county. In fact, so with redistricting, I actually that had to move a lot of people out of District 4 because it had grown so much larger than the other districts. So it is the western part of the county. As someone who lives in Laurel, the westernmost part, I can say that historically that's been an area that's often been a little forgotten in the county because people believe it's, when you say Laurel, they believe it's Prince George's County.
Right.
And so I've really been trying to put an emphasis over there about some of the needs in the Laurel area for which are coming through, and we've got some good projects going on over there. But we also include all of Odenton, where we're going to be bringing in the new MARC station parking garage, which is really exciting, and a park at the Odenton Library extends all the way out to Two Rivers, where we just opened a brand new elementary school, and have some other possibilities for out that way, and then includes all of Fort Meade, which is, what are we now? Currently the second largest military installation in the country.
And the largest employer
and largest
in Maryland.
employer in the state. So, and that is all in District 4. And so, lots going on.
Yeah, definitely. So Odenton, the MARC station, I think a lot of people don't realize that's the most heavily used MARC train station in the county, and people can connect to DC and Baltimore. And the idea of that structured parking, that parking garage, is to free up some surface parking, correct? To do some housing and mixed-use development, is that right?
That is the hope. So they have just announced putting out for plan ideas for what we could do there as mixed use, and then around the MARC station and the Odenton Town Center boundaries, we have multiple great projects coming up that will be some mixed use, some affordable housing for more moderate means, really exciting things that will be within walking distance of the transit and really promote some economic growth around there. So the next few years are going to be exciting right around there.
So the idea is, we talk about sometimes transit-oriented development, where people do not have to get in a car every day. They can actually get on a train or work right near where they live.
Exactly. So that's what we're hoping for there. And like I said, in incentivizing some more small businesses to come around there, so that people who live there can walk to everywhere they go. They won't have to be. Not only will they have the train station, but they might have grocery stores or other things all nearby, restaurants that they can walk to, and have some fewer cars on the road would be great.
Yeah. So I have also felt like West County was somewhat neglected, probably because there were a lot of jobs created from Fort Meade, and then eventually housing, although not enough for the jobs, which creates a lot of traffic with people coming in and out. So it would be better if there was more housing close to those jobs. But it's an area where, when it grows fast, it's hard to keep up with the public infrastructure and have enough parks and have enough schools and have enough of those things. So do you feel like we're catching up? Do you feel like you're still neglected? What's needed in terms of public?
Well, the good news is there's a lot of housing that is coming in that area. We have a large development called Watershed that is still expanding, that's coming in there, and there's multiple other ones in the works. And another big thing that will be coming down the pike in the next couple of years is the Laurel Racetrack is going to no longer be the Laurel Racetrack. And that whole plot of land, which is 287 acres, is going to be available to be reused for something else. And my hope is, with a lot of community impact we can really create, share a vision of what people in that area would like to see that could bring in more of the economic development and housing, again, right near a train station, so we can get that transit-oriented development, and will really be a boon for that part of the county.
So for people who don't know, who haven't heard, Laurel Racetrack is going to no longer be a racetrack after they run the Preakness there.
Correct.
In 26. So they're going to do one more Preakness up at Pimlico. Then they're going to tear everything down up there and start rebuilding the new big race. That'll be all of Maryland racing, really, mostly, other than Timonium. And then they'll run the Preakness at Laurel for 1 year, just 1 year. And then I guess they'll tear that down, and it'll be redeveloped and become something else. And it's owned by the Stronach Group, the Canadian company that has been running horse racing in Maryland. They're leaving Maryland horse racing, and They have promised to engage with, well, they're already talking to our economic development team, and I know they've hired a consultant to do some visioning, and we've really encouraged them, and I know you've encouraged them to engage with the community, because it could be transit-oriented. It is right off of a train station. There's a lot of natural space there. There are a lot of wetlands. It's on the Patuxent River. It could be beautiful, both public space and mixed-use development. So lots to come there. Lots of work to do.
Exciting. It's that will be a great addition for over in that part of the county. And, we have a lot of great things there. As you said, we've got the Patuxent Wildlife Refuge. There's an entrance right there off 198 that goes right there. And the Patuxent Wildlife Refuge is actually doing some visioning now. They have some land right on at the entranceway that used to be ball fields that they're going to be repurposing, and they're doing some community visioning right now of what to turn that space into.
It used to be ball fields, really?
It was. Huh. They had, years ago, Fort Meade gave a large portion of land to the wildlife refuge. But part of that land had some ball fields on it because they had like a league, a softball league or something. And so they were grandfathered that they could continue using those fields. And then just about a year and a half ago, Fort Meade let them know that that the league was no longer working and they didn't need the fields anymore. So they gave it back. They ended the MOU, and so now they're looking for how they can better repurpose that land for a public use.
Are they open to ball fields, or are they?
No, I asked about that. I tried that. They have, within their mandate under Fish and Wildlife, there's certain parameters that it has to be, but there are some options for trails or archery or some other things like that. So, or butterfly gardens, community gardens, that type of thing. So they're really reaching out to the community. So that'll be a great asset that's added in that community. And we just we're doing some investment in the Bacon Town Park, which is right over near the racetrack. It's an old descendant community founded by former enslaved residents, and we have a nice little park there, and it's getting some upgrades. So we're investing over there. It's getting some attention. Yeah,
we were out there for the ribbon cutting with the new tunnel vision team had done the painting of the basketball courts, and more to come.
Yep.
Good. Well, hopefully we are keeping up, and I know that ball fields are a big part of it. Park facilities are a big part for everybody, and then traffic is, of course, the
always
big
always traffic. It doesn't matter. I find that it doesn't matter what community is, where it is in my district. The number one complaint from people is traffic, and that's just everywhere. And unfortunately, we can't make people slow down and be better drivers, but we can put up speed cameras, and sometimes maybe that will incentivize them.
Do we want to talk about speed cameras here? It's actually not been as controversial when in Maryland, for people who don't know, you cannot put up speed cameras unless it's at schools, unless you get state authorization to do so. So we had a lot of neighborhood associations that were saying, we got speeding on this or that road, and do something besides just speed bumps were one option, but there are problems with that. So we decided to go to the General Assembly and get a bill passed to allow Anne Arundel County to put speed cameras in communities and schools. And now we've got a contract where it's finally happening in some locations where it's long overdue. And we let people know it's coming. So
sure. And I'll say that I haven't really heard any complaints about it, because it has been in school zones where people are very concerned about the safety, and they see it as a plus to come through. And because we try other traffic calming things, but sometimes people need a financial incentive.
And there is a way online to actually apply as a community for a specific spot, and they'll come out and do it as part of the traffic study and determine whether there should be a camera. Temporarily, usually. Right. And that hopefully takes care of it. So let's see. So we've talked about your district. When you look at the whole county, obviously there's budgeting issues and there's land use issues. That seems to be, those two things seem to be a lot of it. You've been a big advocate for housing. Do you want to talk more about strategies for affordable housing?
Sure. We've made some great progress with housing legislation, and some changes that we've made that will incentivize more smart housing, in priority areas like we talked about, transportation-oriented development areas, to really have multifamily there. We have actually coming down the pike. There's a redevelopment bill that's coming that will also allow more economic and housing development, all of those things we need. My district, as I said, is the fastest growing.
So redevelopment would be then on parcels where there's been development and they're switching from something that's no longer really working.
Correct, correct. So for instance, some of the blighted things that we see, nobody wants to see boarded up buildings or a strip mall that only has 2 tenants and 5 empty ones. And so this is a way, the redevelopment will allow us to do more smart, redevelopment, to really use it in a better way. And as I said, my district is the fastest growing in the area. People need housing, and they need housing that they can afford. So when we say affordable housing, I don't mean for the lowest income people. I mean for working people who are out there, it's hard to afford to buy something. So we need more housing at all price points to come through, and I think we're really making some good strides toward that. There's some really great ones coming through in my district that I'm excited about that are serving everyone from elderly folks of moderate means on up. And so there's going to be more options for everyone. And anything we can do to move that along. One thing we run into, it's not something on the county level we can address as much, but anything we can try to do is some of the red tape that comes through for more affordable housing projects. The financing and things take a long time and are complicated. And so any way that we as a county can expedite some of those things, I think would be a real plus. One of my biggest frustrations being in elected office is how long everything takes.
Oh, yeah.
Me too. So you start something and everybody agrees it's a great idea, and 3 years later you cut the ribbon on it. And so anything we can do to speed things up.
And I've got to say that, people thought of me as like South County tree hugger that comes into office, stop development any way that you can stop it kind of thing, which was never my agenda. It was more of a smart growth agenda. But the bureaucracy and the time that it takes, not just for government projects to be like our capital projects, our parks, all of those things is, of course, frustrating. And we've had all kinds of work groups to try to expedite things and made some progress. But I can't imagine being a private developer working for 5, 6, sometimes 10 years on one project and having the patience to carry it through. Now, in some cases, it's appropriate because there's a real question about whether what they want should be developed on that land. But in the cases where we're pretty clear now, I think we've made the development community understands what we mean by smart growth and greener, more equitable and growth. And I think they're getting better about what they're proposing. And so if somebody's proposing to build something that everybody wants, let's try to move it through quickly because time is money.
Yes, let's get it through. So I'm paying extra close attention to the ones in my district that are underway that are specifically for our elderly with moderate means or our lower income folks to see what I can do to help expedite and get those things through. One thing I would bring up, because this is pertinent, with the death of President Carter recently, there's a Habitat for Humanity project that's coming in my district that I'm really excited about. It's the first time Habitat's done a project in Anne Arundel for a number of years. And they have a project in the Severn right near Fort Meade of about, I think it's 6 houses that'll be coming in.
Great.
And I would love to see them do more projects throughout the county.
Yeah, well, we were both at the Anne Arundel Affordable Housing Coalition's annual Christmas dinner, whatever it was called, their event, and I saw the Habitat Humanity folks there, and I said, great, are you guys going to come into the county and do some things? So glad to see that. I'm a huge advocate for trying to do some things that are not just the public subsidy, the low-income housing tax credits, because they're limited, and there's just only so much that can go around, and we need to go beyond it. But getting both developers and home buyers and renters comfortable with the idea of living in smaller, which is more sustainable housing units. And if they're smaller, then they cost less to build. And it just seems to me that, especially where I live in South County, they did this 20-acre zoning thing. So literally 5 acres sometimes or 20-acre lots that are mowed grass with chemicals put on it. And I'm thinking, why isn't there any livestock out there? And it's really the ultimate sprawl development. And then they build these houses so big. I don't know why anybody would want a house that big, but there's a market for it. And so that's, the developers build where there's a market and where there's a profit. So let's build smaller and more sustainable, I hope.
Yes, I mean, it's kind of, you need something at everything of what people want, but I think an aging population and young people just starting out would really want smaller.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
the more of that we can have, the better.
Maybe we can get some of these accessory dwelling units built.
That's right.
We passed the bill with almost no opposition, I don't think, that I heard.
No, it was unanimous.
Yeah. And now we got to get people building those. More on that to come.
Right.
So should we talk budgets and money? And
Sure.
the budget process?
Sure.
So you've now been through 2. This will be your 3rd, right?
This will be my 3rd, but I also did 5 on the school board, 5 or maybe 6 on the school board. I can't remember. 5 or 6 on the school board on the school board budget side. So yes, I know the budgets well.
I don't like the process. Do you? I
It's
don't like doing it.
Well, that's because you have to say no.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's hard, you want to be able to say yes, because it's rare that people ask for things that aren't good things.
Right.
There's lots of good. But the
Yeah.
money, the pot is limited. So
Yeah.
it's determining what is the most important and how we move forward.
The best part of the process for me has been especially when we get near the end and we have the things that are maybes that we might be able to afford, and there's usually a few that I really want badly, and when we get to yes, that really feels good.
It is
Some
great.
of them are. I mean, I won't make a list because then somebody will get left out. But it really feels good to be able to fund something that is going to help a lot of people who could really use the help.
Definitely.
Well, let me ask you one last question. Mm-hmm. And this is probably the hardest one. Is this might have something to do with what got you into doing this work, but what do you see as success? What do you think, either at the end of this 4-year term or if you were to do another term, how do you measure success in this job?
It's hard. As I was saying, one of the frustrations is how long things take. So it very well could be that you can serve for a term or more, and the projects and things you got started, you will not see come into fruition until the end. But for me, that there will be progress for that. I will see within my district that there's increased park properties and economic development and housing for all people, and that our schools within my district, that residents of of District 4 feed into 23 different schools in our county.
Wow.
To have that.
Yeah.
And so making sure that all of those schools have the same resources and opportunities, so that some are not getting, that there's not a disparity between our schools to have that. And that's an ongoing battle.
And you have a very diverse district, right? Within
Very
your district.
diverse. Probably racially and ethnically, we're probably close to the most diverse in the whole county. And so making sure that we're meeting the needs with the funding and the resources that are available to have all that. So it's long term. There's not short term things. But yes, I love going to ribbon cutting, so I'll celebrate every ribbon cutting we have, but knowing that things are moving forward. One of my top priorities, like we talked about earlier, was Bacontown, bringing more attention to Bacontown, and we've already taken some real steps to that. And that community is feeling seen for the first time, and we just recently unveiled the history storyboard to put out there. And so that's one that I'm really proud of and really happy for that community. So that's one that's a tangible thing to put forward. But a lot of the projects will be longer term coming down the pike.
Well, I will just say that your residents are really lucky to have you, I think. And I'm not just saying that. It's always been very clear to me that you are a representative that does your homework and has a certain kind of wisdom that some people in politics don't. Like, you understand that it's a long game, and we're just temporarily in these seats trying to push the agenda forward and not asking for the world, but hoping for it.
Well, it's really important that people remember that there's nothing that you can do right now that isn't because of what all the people before you did.
Yeah.
So you're able to go farther because they already laid some groundwork. And that was really clear when I was on the Board of Education. People would say, well, why haven't you done X, Y, Z? Well, because all these other things had to happen first. And because the people before me laid that groundwork, now we are able to take these next steps. So none of it
before you and around you, right?
Right.
There's nothing you can do alone. Yeah.
Yes. So people that think I'm going to come in and I'm going to just make everything happen and it was all terrible before me, there may have been some people that weren't the best in their jobs, but it's all builds on each other. And then we have to have, we have to understand that and know that it is a long game, and each cog in the wheel builds it, and hopefully we keep moving forward.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your priorities. We have a lot of work to do for your district and the whole county. And I hope if you're listening that you join us next week. I can't tell you yet who the guest is going to be, but if there's a subscribe button somewhere on your screen, punch it, and then you'll get notified. Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye.